Hello, welcome here. Have you ever found yourself in a quiet moment, perhaps at the tail end of a bustling day, or in an unexpected lull, when a profound, almost ethereal sadness settles over you? It's not connected to a recent setback, not spurred by an argument, nor is it a response to any overt personal loss that your conscious mind can readily identify. Instead, it feels unmoored, lacking a clear anchor. You might inwardly protest, reasoning that by all external measures, your life is perfectly adequate, perhaps even enviable. I have my basic needs met, you think. A stable job, a roof over my head, food on the table, a supportive network, comforts that many can only dream of. So why then does this persistent ache reside within me? Why this quiet despair, this pervasive low-grade melancholy that I can't quite pinpoint, can't logically explain, and certainly can't easily dismiss? This isn't an isolated experience, it's a profound, often bewildering dilemma that many modern individuals secretly grapple with, a perplexing sorrow that subtly shadows apparent comfort, a hollow space carved out in a seemingly full, and perhaps you've become accustomed to this feeling, an unwelcome guest that visits without overt invitation, casting a subtle gloom over your days. You might have developed various coping mechanisms to push it down or numb its intensity, distracting yourself with endless tasks, immersing yourself in digital consumption, or intellectualizing it away as a mere off day or just fatigue. You might even feel a tinge of guilt for experiencing it, judging yourself harshly for having such a feeling when, objectively, things seem fine or even good. But what if this unexplained sadness isn't a flaw to be corrected, a weakness to be overcome, or a definitive sign that something is inherently wrong with you? What if instead, it is a profound and urgent message, a forgotten secret that your body, your deepest self, this isn't just a fleeting, inconsequential emotion. It is a whisper, sometimes a persistent hum, from your inner world, a subtle yet powerful compass needle pointing toward something vital that has been overlooked, neglected, or perhaps even actively suppressed for a very long time. It is a signal, a clue, waiting for you to decipher its meaning. Today, we are going to embark on a shared journey of introspection and discovery, a deep dive into the hidden chambers of your emotional landscape, to uncover these forgotten secrets. We will explore why your heart might be heavy when your conscious mind perceives no immediate cause, and more importantly, we will learn how to truly listen to these profound internal signals. Our ultimate aim is to transform this confusion into clarity, to convert that quiet ache into a powerful catalyst for personal growth, and to ultimately guide you towards a path of deeper living, authentic connection, and genuine self-understanding. So let's begin to unravel this enigma, one forgotten secret at a time, to reclaim a fuller, more integrated version of yourself. Let's begin with the first forgotten secret, the profound cost of emotional numbness and the rebellion of your true self against the tyranny of forced positivity. We are living in an era defined by unprecedented convenience, instant gratification, and ubiquitous connectivity. Information flows ceaselessly at our fingertips. Entertainment is boundless and always on demand. And for many in developed societies, material comforts surpass anything our ancestors could have imagined. Yet, paradoxically, alongside this societal advancement and material abundance, we observe a pervasive and escalating wave of anxiety, chronic stress, and a deeply rooted, unexplained. This creates a profound dissonance within us, a stark contrast between our external circumstances and our internal experience. We are constantly immersed in a culture that relentlessly celebrates outward success, demands relentless productivity, and promotes an almost mandated state of perpetual happiness. Social media, in particular, paints an often unrealistic and curated picture of perfect lives, successful careers, and blissful relationships, creating an insidious and often unconscious pressure to always appear buoyant, accomplished, and perpetually on for public consumption. In this relentless, often exhausting pursuit of external validation and the appearance of well-being, we inadvertently cultivate a deep-seated emotional numbness. We become remarkably adept at suppressing any feelings that don't neatly fit into the positive or productive narrative. Emotions like sadness, grief, disappointment, frustration, anger, or quiet longing are often deemed undesirable, inconvenient, unproductive, or even socially unacceptable. We're subtly or sometimes overtly instructed to look on the bright side, to power through difficulties, to get over it quickly, or to simply think positive, as if, while resilience, an optimistic outlook, and the ability to find silver linings are undoubtedly valuable virtues, an over-reliance on suppressing difficult emotions comes at a significant psychological cost. When we consistently push down uncomfortable feelings, when we refuse to acknowledge their presence, they don't simply vanish into thin air or dissipate harmlessly. Instead, they recede into the subconscious, accumulating like unaddressed emails in a forgotten inbox or unexploded ordnance beneath the surface, and eventually they manifest in less direct, more perplexing ways, such as that persistent, unrooted, unexplained sadness. This persistent sadness, therefore, can be understood as the quiet rebellion of your true self against the relentless pressure to conform to an ideal of constant cheer. It's a cry from an inner landscape that has been too long ignored, a voice previously stifled and silenced by the clamor of external expectations and the almost dogmatic pursuit of superficial happiness. When we deny ourselves the full, rich spectrum of human emotion, when we attempt to intellectualize away every shadow, every hint of discomfort, those shadows don't dissipate. They merely gather strength in the unseen depths of our being, occasionally breaking through as this perplexing, unbidden sorrow. The human spirit is designed for a full range of experience, for light and shadow, joy and sorrow. When we attempt to lop off the negative ends of this spectrum, we inevitably diminish our capacity for authentic joy, deep connection, and genuine aliveness as well. We become emotionally flat, losing our vibrancy, our depth, and our capacity for true empathy. To begin to truly listen to this forgotten secret, the very first step is simple, yet profoundly challenging in a world that urges give yourself explicit, compassionate permission to experience this sadness, even if you cannot yet articulate its origin or rationale. This means consciously pausing, taking a few deep, grounding breaths, and then simply noticing the sensation of sadness in your body and mind, without immediately attempting to explain it, fix it, or escape it. Just observe its presence. This act of non-judgmental acceptance is a powerful key. It is an invitation for your inner wisdom, previously stifled, to finally speak. Imagine a child who has been trying to tell you something vitally important, but you've been too busy, too distracted, or too dismissive to truly listen. Their frustration, their need, builds, and eventually they might resort to tears or a desperate tantrum to gain your attention. Your unexplained sadness is like that child, patiently, or perhaps impatiently, waiting for you to create a space of gentle, compassionate attention. When you acknowledge it, when you allow it to simply be, you are telling that inner, often neglected, part of yourself, "I hear you, you are safe here, I will listen." This simple act of giving space to your difficult emotions is the very beginning of reclaiming your emotional authenticity. It is a radical act of self-love and self-care in a world that often teaches us, explicitly or implicitly, to abandon our authentic inner experiences. This is the foundation upon which all other insights can be built. This brings us organically to the second forgotten secret, the incredible, often ignored wisdom of your own body, a profound concept known as somatic wisdom. In our highly cerebral, technologically advanced, and performance-driven society, we have become remarkably adept at living predominantly, almost exclusively. In our heads, we analyze, we plan, we rationalize, we debate, we compute, we strategize. Our educational institutions, our professional environments, and even much of our social interaction prioritize cognitive functions, logical reasoning, and we are trained to think, to process information, to solve problems with logic and data. Yet, your body is not merely a passive vessel or a convenient carrying case for your brain. It is an intelligent, highly sensitive, and profoundly communicative organism in its own right. It holds a vast reservoir of forgotten memories, unresolved traumas, unconscious patterns, and unmet needs. It is, in essence, a living archive of your entire life experience, often remembering details, sensations, and feelings that your conscious mind has long since forgotten, suppressed, or simply dismissed as irrelevant. Think about the subtle, yet powerful ways your body communicates with you on a daily basis, often beneath the threshold of conscious awareness. When you are under immense stress, where do you typically perhaps a persistent knot in your stomach, a tightening tension in your shoulders and neck, a clenching in your jaw, a shallow breath, or a general pervasive sense of unease that no logical explanation can fully account for? These are not just random physical sensations or inconvenient symptoms. They are your body's intricate, nonverbal language, its direct and unfiltered way of communicating what your conscious mind might be overlooking, dismissing, or actively trying to suppress. The intuitive gut feeling that guides so many of our important decisions, that sudden sensation of certainty or unease about a person or a situation, isn't just a metaphor. It is a very real and complex interplay of neural signals between your brain and your enteric nervous system, often conveying deep truths and warnings long before your logical mind can fully formulate them into coherent thoughts. Many profound psychological theories, from the work of pioneering trauma therapists like Peter Levine and Bessel van der Kolk to ancient Eastern philosophical and spiritual practices, emphasize that emotions are not merely abstract mental states existing solely in the mind. They are deeply embodied experiences. Emotions have a physical component, a felt sense, that can leave a lasting imprint. Unprocessed emotional experiences, especially those stemming from traumatic events, chronic stress, or even prolonged periods of suppressed feelings, can literally get stuck in the body's tissues, fascia, and nervous system. They manifest years later as chronic physical discomfort, unexplained fatigue, persistent autoimmune issues, anxiety disorders, or indeed that pervasive and unrooted sadness that eludes clear explanation. Your body remembers the echoes of fear, the weight of disappointment, the tension of unresolved conflict, the freeze response to overwhelm, even when your conscious mind has constructed. The body holds the score, as Dr. van der Kolk eloquently puts it. So, how do we begin to tune into this profound, often ignored messenger, this inner repository of somatic wisdom? A simple yet incredibly powerful and foundational practice is the body scan. Find a quiet, undisturbed moment, whether lying down comfortably on your back or sitting upright in a supportive chair. Gently close your eyes, take a few deep, slow, grounding breaths to bring yourself into the present moment, and then slowly bring your awareness to different parts of your body, starting from your toes and gradually moving up through your feet, legs, pelvis, abdomen, chest, arms, hands, neck, face, and finally to the crown of your head. As you focus on each area, simply notice any sensations that arise. Notice any sensations that arise. The absolute key here is to observe these sensations without judgment, without immediately attempting to change them, fix them, or explain them away. Just let them be present, exactly as they are. When you encounter an area of discomfort, a strong sensation, or even a subtle unease, gently breathe into it. Imagine your breath softening that area, creating a sense of spaciousness around this. This practice isn't about intellectual analysis or finding a quick solution to a problem. It's about reestablishing a profound and compassionate connection with your inner landscape, allowing your body's story to unfold unedited and unforced. Over time, with consistent practice, you might start to notice patterns emerging, correlations between certain emotions and specific physical sensations, or between certain. These subtle insights can reveal deep truths about your emotional state and your personal history that words alone could never capture. This practice is about creating a two-way dialogue, a conversation between your mind and your body. It is about remembering and honoring that you are an integrated being, a holistic system of mind, body, and spirit, not just a thinking machine inhabiting a physical shell. By consciously honoring your body's inherent wisdom, you empower yourself to understand the deeper, often hidden roots of your unexplained sadness, and to initiate a more profound, more authentic process of self-healing and integration. This is a journey of embodied self-awareness. If this conversation about listening to your deeper self, your body's wisdom, and these profound insights is resonating with you, if you are finding value in these perspectives that challenge conventional thinking, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into psychology, philosophy, and personal well-being. Your support is invaluable and helps us continue to create content that serves your journey toward. Now, let's delve into the third forgotten secret, the lingering echoes of unprocessed grief and loss, extending far beyond the obvious and commonly recognized forms. When we hear the word grief, our minds typically conjure images of major, devastating life events, the profound loss of a loved one, the painful dissolution of a significant romantic relationship, or a severe personal tragedy that shakes our world to its core. And undeniably, these are monumental sources of grief, demanding immense emotional processing and a visible period of mourning. However, our lives are also punctuated by an almost countless number of smaller, often subtle, and frequently unacknowledged losses. These are the quiet disassemblies of our reality, the slow erosions of what once was, the gradual farewells to cherished when these myriad smaller losses accumulate and are left unmourned, they can form a vast, unprocessed emotional landscape within us. This hidden landscape often manifests as that pervasive, persistent, and unexplainable sadness that puzzles and exhausts us. Psychologists and grief counselors increasingly recognize and emphasize concepts such as ambiguous loss or cumulative grief. These terms describe losses that lack clear closure, are not socially sanctioned or openly acknowledged by others, or are so subtle and incremental that we barely register them as losses at all, until their cumulative weight becomes too heavy to ignore. These aren't always dramatic headline, grabbing events that elicit widespread sympathy. Consider, for instance, the slow fading of a cherished childhood dream that slowly, imperceptibly never materialized, or the painful realization that a past version of yourself, perhaps a more naive, carefree, adventurous, or idealistic self, no longer exists. Think about the subtle erosion of innocence that inevitably comes with age and experience, the shifting dynamics of a long-standing friendship that slowly drifts apart over time, the changing face of the neighborhood you grew up in as it gentrifies or develops, or the quiet dissolution of a sense of cultural identity as the world globalizes and traditional ways of life fade. It could be the loss of a particular enthusiasm, a creative outlet, or a hobby you once deeply loved but no longer have the time or energy for. It could be the loss of a simpler time before technology overwhelmed our senses and schedules, or even the feeling of loss for a potential future that will never fully materialize, perhaps due to circumstances entirely beyond your control, like a health diagnosis or an economic. Even chronic illness or disability, while often focused on physical symptoms, involves profound and ongoing losses, of mobility, independence, certain abilities, or a previous lifestyle that are frequently not fully grieved or acknowledged by the individual or their support system. The insidious nature of these smaller everyday and often unremarked losses is that we rarely grant ourselves explicit permission or are given society often implicitly and sometimes quite explicitly encourages us to be strong, to move on, to not dwell on the past, and to focus solely on what we have rather than what has slipped away. We're taught that focusing on loss, especially minor ones, is unproductive, self-indulgent, or even a sign of weakness. However, grief, in all its multitudinous forms and expressions, it is the heart's way, the soul's way, of acknowledging a significant change, an ending, a transition, a severance from something valued. When we consistently deny ourselves the space to acknowledge, feel, and process these smaller, more subtle losses, they don't simply vanish into the ether or magically resolve themselves. Instead, they recede into the emotional background, building up like silt in a riverbed, gradually impeding the natural, healthy flow of emotional vitality and leaving a residue of unresolved pain. This cumulative, unprocessed grief then creates a low-grade, persistent pressure in our emotional system, often manifesting as that persistent, unrooted sadness that puzzles and exhausts us. It is your inner self, your deeper wisdom, recognizing the absence of something important, something that once brought joy or security or definition to your life, and gently, or sometimes not so gently, nudging you to finally pay attention. It is a call for acknowledgement, a plea for validation of your internal experience, a yearning for completion. The application here is to practice mindful acknowledgement. Take intentional time for reflection, perhaps through journaling, quiet contemplation, or engaging in a meditative walk. Ask yourself, what have I lost, whether significant or seemingly insignificant, that I never truly allowed myself to mourn or fully acknowledge? It could be the loss of a particular enthusiasm you once had for a subject, a specific phase of your life, a treasured sense of community, a simple write about what once was, what could have been, or what has irrevocably changed. As you do so, allow yourself to feel the natural sadness, the pang of nostalgia, the quiet regret, or the sense of emptiness that arises. Do this without judgment, without trying to intellectualize it away or to immediately fix it. Just let the feelings be present, letting them flow through you. This isn't about wallowing in self-pity or getting stuck in the past. It's a profound act of honoring your human experience, validating your authentic emotions, and creating an internal space for genuine healing to occur. It's akin to tending to a neglected garden fay by consciously recognizing and gently removing the accumulated debris of unmourned losses. You create fertile ground for new growth, for renewed vitality, and for a deeper connection to your own emotional truth and resilience. This process allows the river of your emotions to flow more freely, gradually washing away the sediment of unexplained sadness and allowing you to feel more. Moving on to the fourth forgotten secret, the profound, often debilitating cost of living out of alignment with your authentic self, in a world that relentlessly bombards us with idealized images of success, beauty, power, happiness, and what a good life should look like. It is remarkably easy, almost imperceptibly so, to lose touch with who we genuinely are deep down. From a young age, we are conditioned to seek external approval, to fit in, to conform to societal norms, and to strive for what external authorities or cultural narratives deem valuable. Consequently, we often adopt roles, pursue career paths, maintain relationships, or even engage in hobbies, not primarily because they genuinely resonate with our core values, our deepest desires, or our unique sense of purpose, but because they align with external expectations. These expectations might stem from our family's aspirations for us, societal pressures about what constitutes a good or successful life, the perceived prestige of certain choices, the desire to emulate our peers or social groups, or simply the unconscious belief that such choices will make us liked, accepted, or financially secure. This phenomenon, often referred to as inauthenticity, is not always a conscious choice to deceive others. More often, it is a gradual, unconscious drifting away from our inner truth, a slow surrender of our unique self to external pressures. It's akin to wearing a meticulously crafted mask for an extended period, a mask of politeness, of capability, of conformity. Eventually, you begin to forget what your real face looks like underneath, and the mask itself becomes heavy, uncomfortable, profoundly suffocating, and utterly exhausting to maintain. The pioneering humanistic psychologist Carl Rogers spoke eloquently of congruence, the vital alignment between your ideal self, who you aspire to be, your actual self, who you are in reality, with all your flaws and strengths, and your perceived self, how you see yourself. When there is a significant, persistent mismatch between these aspects, when you are consistently living a life that contradicts your inner truth, your inner compass begins to spin wildly, sending confusing signals. The profound consequence of this chronic misalignment is often a deep-seated sense of wrongness, a pervasive emptiness, a feeling of being a fraud, or indeed that persistent, it's your internal alarm bell ringing softly at first, then more insistently signaling that something fundamental is profoundly out of sync, that you are disconnected from your own core. Consider these common scenarios. Perhaps your deepest, most vibrant desire is to create art, to tell stories, to engage in philosophical inquiry, or to connect deeply with nature. But you find yourself trapped in a corporate job that drains your spirit, stifles your creativity, and leaves you feeling hollow and unfulfilled at the end of each day. Maybe you yearn for deep, intimate, and truly meaningful connections, but you passively surround yourself with superficial acquaintances or maintain relationships that no longer nourish your soul, perhaps out of habit or fear of change, or perhaps through years of conditioning and societal influence, You've adopted beliefs, opinions, and even an entire worldview that isn't truly your own, simply to fit into a particular social. This kind of chronic inauthenticity is not merely a philosophical concept. It actively saps your vital life energy, creates a profound emotional void, and leaves a gaping hole in your sense of self that no amount of external success, wealth, or approval can ever truly fill. The unexplained sadness in this context is a courageous and persistent message from your soul, urgently asking you to. The application here is to embark, with courage, curiosity, and radical honesty, on a profound journey of self-discovery, with the explicit aim of identifying your core values, your deepest desires, your authentic passions, and your unique self. Ask yourself probing questions, independent of what anyone else thinks or expects. What truly matters to me, deep in my bones? What activities bring me genuine, unadulterated joy, a sense of timeless flow, and a profound sense of purpose, regardless of external recognition? What kind of relationships truly nourish my spirit, allowing me to be fully myself, vulnerabilities and all? What beliefs do I hold because they resonate with my innermost truth, not because they are expected or politically correct? This journey needn't begin with small, conscious, and courageous acts of rebellion against inauthenticity. It could be learning to say no to something you genuinely don't want to do, even if it feels uncomfortable or might initially disappoint others. It could be dedicating a small, sacred amount of time each day or week to a passion project that nobody else sees, purely for the joy of creation and self-expression. It could involve articulating an opinion that genuinely reflects your perspective, even if it goes against the prevailing sentiment in a group, doing so respectfully but firmly. Regularly ask yourself with honesty and self-compassion, does this choice, this action, this relationship truly resonate with me? Is this an authentic expression of who I am, or am I merely performing a role, chasing an external ideal? This journey requires immense courage, as stepping into authenticity often means letting go of the comfortable, the familiar, and the expected, and bravely venturing into the unknown territory of your true self. But the profound reward is an increasingly quiet inner peace, a deep sense of congruence, a feeling of rightness, and the gradual yet undeniable alleviation of that unexplained sadness as you lovingly reclaim and inhabit your true, magnificent self, living a life that is truly your own. Let's now turn our attention to the fifth forgotten secret, the profound and often overlooked human need. In an increasingly secular, individualized, and consumer-driven world, many of the traditional overarching sources of meaning, whether they be religious doctrines, strong community ties, shared cultural narratives, or grand ideological projects, have, for a significant number of people, eroded or lost their powerful sway and unifying force. While this societal shift offers unprecedented individual freedom, autonomy, and choice, it often leaves in its wake a void, an existential vacuum, a term eloquently coined by Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychiatrist, philosopher, and Holocaust survivor. Frankl's seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning, powerfully illustrated that even in the most horrific and dehumanizing circumstances imaginable, those individuals who managed to find a meaning or purpose, however small or personal, were significantly more likely to endure, survive, and even find profound growth and inner strength amidst their suffering. Humans are, at our very core, meaning-seeking creatures. It is a fundamental, innate drive, as vital to our psychological well-being as the drives for pleasure, safety, or power. We are inherently wired to yearn for our lives to matter, for our actions to have significance, for our existence to be connected to something larger than mere biological survival or fleeting gratification. When life feels aimless, when our daily routines, our work, and our activities lack a perceived connection to something grander, more significant, or more personally fulfilling than the immediate moment, a deep-seated subtle sadness can emerge. This isn't necessarily clinical depression, although it can certainly coexist with it and sometimes exacerbate it. Rather, it is a soul-level ache, a profound yearning for. It's the quiet cry of your spirit, asking fundamental, often uncomfortable and existential questions. What am I truly doing here? What is the ultimate point of all this effort and struggle? What is this all for, beyond mere survival and consumption? This pervasive sadness often arises from a feeling of drift, a sense that one is merely going through the motions, unmoored from any deeper personal resonance or collective contribution, leaving one feeling adrift in a sea of meaninglessness. It is crucial to understand that finding meaning isn't about discovering one single grand, all-encompassing purpose that magically transforms your life overnight and solves all your meaning can be woven into the rich fabric of your existence in a myriad of ways, found in both grand, sweeping gestures and in the smallest, most mundane, yet deeply personal aspects of daily life. The application here is to actively and consciously cultivate sources of meaning in your life, to intentionally seek out and engage with activities that ignite a sense of purpose within you. This could involve dedicating your time and energy to service, volunteering for causes you deeply believe in, or contributing to the well-being of others in your community or globally. Meaning can also be found through creative pursuits, immersing yourself in art, writing, music, poetry, cooking, gardening, or any activity where you bring something new, unique, and beautiful into the world. Expressing your inner, it can be cultivated in the realm of deep, authentic, and nourishing relationships, fostering genuine connections that enrich both your life and the lives of others, moving beyond superficial interactions. Continuous learning and intellectual growth, expanding your understanding of the universe, challenging your assumptions, and seeking wisdom through philosophy, science, or spirituality can also provide immense meaning. Sometimes meaning is discovered in simply paying close, mindful attention to the present moment, finding profound beauty and significance in the everyday, in a sunset, a conversation, or a simple meal, or diligently caring for your immediate surroundings and responsibilities with intention and presence. Ask yourself, what activities, relationships, or ideas give me a genuine sense of contribution, connection, growth, even a 5-minute act of kindness, a moment of focused appreciation for the natural world around you, or dedicating a few minutes to learning something new and challenging, can begin to fill that existential void and nourish your spirit. The persistent, unexplained sadness often begins to recede and transform as you consciously weave a richer tapestry of meaning into your daily life, realizing that your existence in its This isn't about escaping sadness by distracting yourself. It is about transcending it by anchoring your life in values, pursuits, and connections that resonate deeply with your innermost self, thereby creating a powerful buffer against the feelings of aimlessness and meaninglessness that can otherwise feel overwhelming. If you are finding value in these insights and perspectives, and if this deep dive into understanding your inner land, your engagement, your comments, and your subscriptions are what allow us to continue bringing these important, thought-provoking conversations to a wider audience, helping more people find clarity, connection, and a deeper sense of purpose in their lives. Now let's explore the 6th forgotten secret, the lingering echoes of your inner child and unmet needs from your formative years. As adults, many of us tend to forget, yet our childhood years are utterly formative. They are the bedrock upon which our emotional landscape, our fundamental coping mechanisms, our core beliefs about ourselves, and our perceptions of the world are constructed. The experiences, both positive and negative, the messages received, and the needs met or unmet during this crucial period, shape us in ways we often don't consciously recognize. And if, during those crucial developmental years, certain core needs were consistently unmet, perhaps needs for unconditional love, a consistent sense of safety and security, genuine validation for our feelings and efforts, adequate and attuned attention, or the freedom to play, explore, and express ourselves authentically without fear of judgment, those unmet needs don't simply evaporate with time. Instead, they become deeply embedded in our subconscious programming, subtly influencing our behaviors, our relationship patterns, our self-talk, and our overall emotional well-being as adults. Our inner child, that vulnerable and often wounded part of us that holds these early experiences, continues to yearn for what was missing, continues to seek resolution. As adults, when we experience that perplexing, unexplained sadness, it can often be a direct echo of these unaddressed childhood hurts, a plaintive cry from that vulnerable inner child within us, who is still yearning for what was not received back then, and what may still be unconsciously missing in our adult lives. Now, this isn't about assigning blame to parents or caregivers, who, for the most part, did the best they could with. Rather, it's about acknowledging that sometimes, even in the most loving and well-intentioned environments, certain crucial needs might have been overlooked, misunderstood, or simply not attuned to, perhaps due to the caregiver's own unresolved issues or limitations. For instance, a child who was consistently praised only for their achievements and told to be strong or don't cry might grow into an adult who feels a profound inability to express vulnerability, seek help, or even acknowledge their own emotional pain, leading to a profound buildup of unacknowledged emotional pain and a deep sense of isolation. A child whose natural curiosity or creative impulses were consistently dismissed, ridiculed, or ignored might become an adult who feels a persistent, unfulfilled longing for self-expression, yet doesn't know why, feeling a creative block or a general lack of joy. The unexplained sadness, in this context, is your inner child's courageous and persistent way of finally getting your attention. Please, listen to what I needed so desperately back then, and what I still, in some fundamental way, need now. It's a call for belated nurture, for a compassionate witness to past pain, and for the conscious meeting of needs that were once denied or could not be met. These unmet needs, whether for comfort, understanding, permission to be imperfect, or simply to be seen, heard, and accepted for who we are, can create a continuous underlying hum of sorrow, a low-grade sadness that we often unconsciously project onto our current circumstances without fully understanding its true origin. The application here is profound and deeply healing. Practice radical self-compassion and take intentional time to connect with that younger, more vulnerable version of yourself. This can be achieved through various powerful techniques: journaling about your childhood memories, allowing any feelings, images, or sensations that surface to be present without judgment, engaging in guided meditations specifically designed for inner child connection and healing, or simply by looking at old photographs of yourself as a child and allowing empathy to ask your inner child, perhaps through silent contemplation, journaling, or a gentle inner dialogue. What did you need back then that you didn't receive? What would have made you feel safe, loved, understood, or truly seen? What fears or burdens did you carry alone? Then, as the wise, capable, and compassionate adult you are today, begin the sacred process of reparenting yourself. Give yourself the unconditional love, the patient validation, the gentle reassurance, and the explicit permission to feel and express needs that might have been denied or suppressed in your early life. If your inner child yearned for playful freedom and joy, consciously schedule time for joyful, unstructured activities in your adult life. If they needed consistent validation and praise, practice affirming your own worth and accomplishments, no matter how small, and acknowledge your efforts. If they needed safety and clear boundaries, work on creating secure, healthy boundaries in your current relationships and environment, protecting your energy and peace. This process is not about dwelling endlessly in the past, getting stuck in victimhood, or blaming others. Instead, it is about actively healing old wounds, integrating fragmented parts of yourself, and finally meeting those fundamental needs that have been silently crying out for attention from within. As you consistently nurture and respond to your inner child with compassion and presence, that pervasive, unexplained sadness often begins to gently lift, replaced by a deeper sense of inner wholeness, emotional resilience, and a profound feeling of being cared for and truly loved by yourself. It's an act of deep self-restoration and self-acceptance that profoundly impacts your present. And finally, let's embrace the seventh and perhaps most intuitive forgotten secret, the inherent wisdom of melancholy itself, and how it can serve as a profound guide rather than an enemy to be banished. In our relentless modern pursuit of happiness, relentless productivity, and an almost mandated state of positivity, we have developed a deeply ingrained cultural habit of pathologizing virtually all forms. We view it as an adversary to be conquered, a defect to be eliminated, a problem to be solved with quick fixes, or a weakness to be hidden. We are implicitly, and often explicitly, told that sadness is bad, negative, or unproductive, while happiness is good, positive, and always desirable. This creates a simplistic, binary, and ultimately reductive understanding of emotions that is not only deeply unhelpful, but but also profoundly diminishes our capacity for a full, rich, and nuanced human experience. But what if that unexplained sadness isn't a sign of brokenness, a psychological malfunction, or a personal failure to be happy? What if instead it is a sign of profound depth, heightened sensitivity, and a sophisticated awareness of the complex, bittersweet tapestry of life? Throughout history, across diverse cultures and philosophical traditions, philosophers, poets, artists, and spiritual thinkers have often viewed melancholy not as a pathology to be cured, but as a rich, contemplative, and even sacred. It has been seen as a gateway to profound insights, a catalyst for creative expression, and a source of deep empathy and wisdom. The renowned analytical psychologist Carl Jung spoke of the vital importance of integrating the shadow fey, those parts of ourselves, including difficult emotions, challenging experiences, and uncomfortable truths, that we deem undesirable or negative, and therefore push into our unconscious. When sadness is embraced rather than resisted, when it is approached with curiosity rather than fear or aversion, it can become an incredibly powerful guide and a source of profound self-knowledge. Melancholy can serve to slow us down in an overly hurried and distracting world, encouraging deep introspection, quiet contemplation, and a reconnection with our inner landscape. It can deepen our capacity for empathy and compassion towards others, as we recognize the shared human experience of suffering, imperfection, and impermanence. It can connect us to the universal questions of life and death, meaning and existence, fostering a profound sense of interconnectedness with all sentient beings and the wider cosmos. This particular kind of sadness is often not the sharp, it is a nuanced emotional state that can lead to profound wisdom, a quiet understanding of the bittersweet nature of life, and an appreciation for beauty found even in sorrow. It's your inner self, reflecting on the transient beauty of existence, the inevitable intertwining of joy and sorrow, and the profound, often melancholic interconnectedness of all life. It invites you to a more profound, less superficial, and more authentic engagement with the world around you and within you. It asks you to notice the depth, the subtlety, the intricate textures of reality, not just the fleeting surface appearances. The application here is to fundamentally change your relationship with sadness itself, to reframe it not as an enemy, but as a potential ally or a wise, instead of immediately trying to push it away, to distract yourself with endless activity, to numb it with consumption, or to analyze it into oblivion, try inviting it in. Approach it with a sense of gentle inquiry, perhaps asking it, "What are you trying to tell me? What forgotten wisdom do you hold for me in this moment? What is it asking me to see or understand?" Treat it not as an unwelcome intruder that must be banished, but as a temporary guest, however initially uncomfortable or unsettling its presence might feel. Sit with it, observe it. What subtle messages does it convey about your deepest values, your true priorities, your neglected desires, or the direction your life is taking? Perhaps this melancholy is telling you to slow down, to grant yourself much-needed rest and respite, to reconnect with the restorative power of nature, to listen more deeply to your own fundamental needs, or to gently reconsider a particular path, relationship, or commitment in your life that no longer serves your highest good. This isn't about wallowing in negativity or perpetuating suffering. It is about active, mindful, and by allowing sadness to simply exist, by listening to its subtle whispers without judgment, you open yourself to a richer, more nuanced, and ultimately more profound experience of life. You come to understand that both joy and sorrow are essential, interdependent components of being fully human, like the ebb and flow of tides or the changing seasons. This acceptance is not resignation or defeat. It is a profound act of self-compassion, a courageous step towards emotional integration and wholeness, and a clear pathway to a more resilient, authentic, and ultimately more meaningful existence. It allows you to become a more complete, wise, and empathetic human being, capable of navigating life's complexities with grace and depth. So if you often find yourself feeling sad for no discernible reason, remember this profound truth: your body and your soul are not failing you, nor are they broken. On the contrary, they are speaking to you with immense wisdom and urgency, acting as faithful messengers. They are revealing forgotten secrets about unmet needs, unmourned losses, the profound cost of inauthentic living, a deep yearning for purpose, the lingering echoes of your past, and the profound wisdom that comes from embracing the full, beautiful, and sometimes sorrowful spectrum of human emotion. This unexplained sadness is not merely a problem to be solved or eradicated, but it is an invitation, a call to a deeper level of self-awareness and self-care. By learning to truly listen to acknowledge its presence without judgment, to compassionately feel its depth, and to courageously explore these intricate inner signals, you embark on a profound and transformative journey of self-discovery. You move from a state of baffling confusion to one of profound clarity, from a sense of being lost and unmoored to finding your true internal north and an anchor within yourself. This is a path that requires patience, unwavering self-compassion, and a deep, abiding commitment to your own well-being and growth. But it is a path that ultimately leads to greater wholeness, profound resilience, authentic connection. I truly hope today's sharing has provided you with a new, empowering perspective on the world, and even more importantly, a transformative new way to understand and relate to yourself, fostering a deeper connection to your own inner wisdom. Thank you deeply for watching, for being open to these insights, and for joining me on this journey of self-discovery. I sincerely hope to see you next time, as we continue to explore the